to have an opportunity to share with you, and what happened? Am I okay?
Yeah.
So this meeting is principles and application. This meeting is about doing something in the day that I'm in to treat the disease. It's like it says in the preamble. It's not a meeting about drunkalogs, although sometimes I'll do an alcoholism log where I'll describe the disease of alcoholism incessantly. But the reason that it's important to talk about the disease as a disease in the way that it manifests in my life is because at the bottom of page 21 in the 12 and 12 it says we, but I'm going to say I. I know that little good can come to any alcoholic who joins AA unless I first accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. Until I so humble myself, my sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness, I will find none at all. None at all. Of real happiness, none at all. Until I accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. So I better know what that devastating weakness is and what all of its consequences are, because unless I know that, I'm never going to be truly happy, and my sobriety is going to be precarious. It's going to be at the whim of whatever my mind tells me in the moment that it tells me something. So I have a disease. I call it alcoholism. It's the stupidest name for the disease ever because they're naming the disease after the treatment. But I've come to realize that if they called it grave emotional and mental disorders, nobody would go to the meetings. And how it works, it says there are those who have grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. I've come to find out that I have grave emotional and mental disorders because otherwise I wouldn't do the crazy stuff that I do. I wouldn't consider suicide because, my shoelace broke. A normal person doesn't go suicidal over a broken shoelace, but I could, or get a divorce because my wife said she didn't like the place that I put my socks last night, and I go straight to, well, what do I need her for? I'll leave my socks wherever I want. So there's something wrong with me. I have a disease, alcoholism. It centers in my mind. It centers in my mind. It's a mind-powered disease. My mind becomes the power for my life. And because my mind speaks to me in my voice, I do whatever it says. And my mind, because it has the disease, is terminally unsatisfiable and fault-finding and opinionated and always in a hurry and easily frustrated. And my mind thinks that it's a king and that it's the center of the universe. And all of you are here just to please me. And if you're not pleasing me, then you need to get out. And I think that's kind of like what a kingdom looks like with a bad king. You do what I say or we lop off your head. I'm the king. Now get your act together and let's go. And I live my life like that. I can see that behavior everywhere in my life. You make the left turn or I lop your head off. You play the guitar when I tell you to play the guitar or I lop your head off. That's the way, you everything in my life is so black and white. You do what I say or you're out. And I'll write you off. And I might still smile and talk to you when you're in my presence. But once I've made the decision that you've done me wrong, I've pretty much written you out of my life. I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to invite you to do things. I'm not going to be happy that you're around. I'll pretend like I am, but I'm really just biding my time waiting for you to leave. And so I have this disease, and it's devastating. And all of its consequences are I have no good relationships in my life. Because the way that I live, I push everyone and everything out of my life eventually. And that's a way of life. And I need to be in application. I need to be living this program as a way of life. But for such a long time, I was told in AA that just don't drink and you're a winner. And I spent a lot of time just not drinking. And I thought that because I wasn't drinking and because the obsession to drink had been removed, that I was treating the disease. And that all I had to do now was go to meetings and talk about how terrible my life was. And then I would feel better after that meeting. Or I could go to a meeting and hear how terrible your life was. And then somehow your life being terrible made my life not seem so bad. And I felt better. But that was kind of my AA program. I had worked all 12 steps. I went to meetings. I listened to your story. I told my story. And it was stories. It wasn't about recovery. It was my stories, my drunk logs, or the troubles I was in the day I was in. But with no reference to alcoholism, just bad luck usually, bad luck or good luck. So I have a disease that centers in my mind, and I need a treatment. And the treatment is complete abandoning self. So there's a disease, and it's built, and it's not going anywhere, and it lives over here. And then there's another way of life with a higher power that doesn't have a disease. And I've got to start putting my attention on the higher power, and it starts in two. I start coming to believe that there's a power greater than me, and that power is the power that's going to restore me to sanity. All the self-talk that you did all day today about trying to figure out which tube to take that wouldn't be so crowded, or which way to go to get to the meeting so you'd avoid traffic, or what you were going to do at work and what you weren't going to do, and all the self-talk that goes on in my mind, all of that is me trying to restore myself to sanity. And all the talk that's really necessary is power. What would you have me do now? God, what would you have me do now? Right now. This moment. The only moment that I could be free of the disease of alcoholism is right now. The disease can't live in this moment. It cannot live in this moment. The disease lives in the past or in the future. It's based on my old stories about how everything works and what I tell myself I know about everything. And then I use that information to project into my future. So it's the same disease. It's either looking back telling me what a loser I've been, or it's looking forward telling me what a loser I'm going to be. I have that doomsday mind, right? I hardly ever look forward and think, oh, this is going to be great. Because my experience is that my life in the future never matches my expectations now. So when I think about going on vacation, my mind will have this fantasy about what it's going to be like when I get there. And then it never lives up to what my mind says. So then I want to go back home as soon as I get on vacation. Because the problem is, because when I get on vacation, I'm there. And I go wherever I am. Wherever I am, my mind is there. And my mind is talking to me. And it's unsatisfiable, and it's fault-finding, and it's opinionated, and nothing's ever right. And so that's what I'm up against. And so I could, right now, in this moment, start to have a new way of life. I could start right now to abandon self by putting my attention on God. Putting my attention on the higher power right now. Could you be with me right now? Because this is the only moment that matters. If I can get this moment right and start building that relationship, then there's a possibility maybe this moment I could have that too. And I'm building something. I'm doing something right now. I'm starting to have a new life right now. That meditation that we did, wow, that was so fantastic today. Because my wife, this morning, my wife woke up before I did. Whenever that happens, I'm in trouble. 4 days a week, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I get my daughter ready for school, and my wife gets up around 7:15. And those 4 days are fantastic because I get up, I wake up my daughter, I make my tea, I sit down, I read something spiritual, and I start my program, and I get connected. And then when she comes out, it's a non-event. But on Wednesdays, she gets up at 6 and wakes up Sophia, and I get to sleep till 7:15, which seems like it would be a good thing, except for I come out and she's all revved up about the day, and she's got questions for me the minute I walk out the door. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And I haven't had a chance to get centered and to get right. And it never goes well on Wednesdays unless I say, you know what, I can't talk to you yet. I'm not prepared to talk to you. Anything I say right now can and will be used against me. I have to, with 28 years of sobriety, I have to get up. And the first thing I have to do is read some spiritual material and start rightly relating myself to my higher power. I have to do that. Otherwise, self is running the show. And I'm going to be in trouble. Some mornings it goes okay, but all she has to do is ask me the wrong question and all hell breaks loose. And it's not crazy. It's not like throwing pots and pans crazy. It's just uncomfortable. It's just messy. It's just argumentative and fault finding and not necessary. And then I got to stop whenever I get a chance to stop again and start reading. Start sharing my life with my higher power. Start admitting my devastating weakness and all of its consequences for today, and start a program of recovery. So that's kind of, a little bit about principles and application today. I mean, I don't know. I actually have to leave early in 15 minutes, so I want to hear more from you guys. So thank you for letting me be here, and I can't wait to hear what you have to share about your day and your disease. Thank you.